Welcome back to the Omnibuds Cafe. My name's Kevin, and today we're taking a look at Captain America Lives by Ed Brubaker. This is the follow-up story to the death of Captain America and part of one of the greatest comic book runs of all time, in my opinion, by Ed Brubaker. So grab your cup of coffee and let's check out this book. All right, here we have Captain America Lives by Ed Brubaker and a plethora of awesome artists. This, just like The Death of Captain America, is a very thin omnibus. This is just over 500 pages, and it's got, 6, 12, maybe 20 issues in it, but it includes the 600th issue, and we'll get into that. But before we do, take your dust jackets off. We're not animals. All right, here's Under the Dust Jacket, just a awesome Alex Ross art. Let's check this out. So we start off with the Sentinel of Liberty story, and this is done by, the art is done by Marcos Martin, which I absolutely love. Then we get a few, 8 or so issues written by Ed Brubaker. We get some art by Steve Epting, who had been on this book for a long time, but then we also get Luke Ross, whose art is really beautiful and actually looks a lot like Steve Epting. And then we go and we get to the 600th issue, and this one's really cool because it's co-written by Ed Brubaker, Roger Stern, Mark Waid, and Paul Dini. And we get just a plethora of awesome artists: Butch Guice, Howard Chaykin, Raphael Albuquerque, David Aja, and so on and so forth. And then the second half of this is the crossover called Reborn, and that tells the story of how Captain America comes back to the land of the living. So let's dig into this. So this first story is just, again, continuing on from where we left off in the last omnibus, Death of Captain America. And we get a little more kind of a look back and just a retelling real quick of Captain America's history and where we are today and how we got there. You know, all the way from World War II to Cap being frozen on ice to being unfrozen, joining the Avengers, then the Civil War. Just a really nice recap issue and beautifully done by Marcos Martin. So then we get into this story called Time's Arrow, and now we're back to, telling the story of Bucky Barnes as Captain America. And if you recall, when Steve Rogers dies, Iron Man, Tony Stark, is leading S.H.I.E.L.D., leading this 50-state initiative after the events of Civil War. And Iron Man believes that the world needs a Captain America and kind of begrudgingly gives the S.H.I.E.L.D. to Bucky Barnes and allows him to essentially break the law and run around as an unregistered hero. So we get this really cool story, and we get a lot of Sharon Carter, we get a lot of Black Widow, we get a lot of Sam Wilson as the Falcon, but we start off with a returning villain, Batroc the Leaper. And just a really cool action story. They're doing some evil villain shit, and we get to learn more about Bucky Barnes and his kind of struggles to reconcile his past life as the Winter Soldier and an assassin and his desire to kind of live up to Steve Rogers, his hero, his mentor. He rekindles his relationship with Black Widow, and a really cool story. He's going after the remains of the original Human Torch, not Fantastic Four Human Torch, but the original one from the 40s, I think 40s, maybe 50s. That was part of the Invaders. And he teams up with an old ally, Namor, who's being an absolute prick throughout this entire thing. But we get some really cool character growth out of Bucky Barnes. We get a lot of flashbacks to the war and to the time of the Invaders, and we see him more as this silly sidekick to Captain America and more as the man who he is, or he was, and who he is trying to be again. So really awesome action. Again, this art looks very Steve Epting. The inks and the colors help out a lot. I think this is Ross. I forget his name. But and then we flash back to Sharon Carter, who, spoiler alert, if you've read the previous omnibus, and you should not read this one without reading the previous one, was under some kind of mind control by Red Skull, and she was actually involved somehow in the death of Steve Rogers. Well, things are slowly coming back to her, and she's remembering certain things and remembering the gun that was in her hand and who she passed the gun off to. And this is just, it kind of devolves into this classic Ed Brubaker detective story. Here's some Howard Chaykin art that looks really cool. I think this must be issue 600. Yeah, it is. In issue 600, again, written by quite a few different people and just different stories, 4, 5, 6-page stories, recapping kind of where we are and what's going on currently. So again, just to kind of place us in time, Norman Osborn is leading an Avengers team, and this book reads really well right after Secret Invasion, which is a really cool story. But he decides that it would be great to have a Captain America on his side, and when he learns what Sharon Carter believes, that Steve Rogers might not be fully dead or dead at all. He might be, I don't know, you'll have to read it, displaced in time, sent to another universe. But they think, and they team up with Falcon, Ant-Man, and Reed Richards shows up, and they're trying to figure out what could have happened to Steve Rogers and how could we possibly get him back. So then we start the Captain America Reborn story arc, and this kind of tells, and I don't want to dig too much into it because it would be difficult not to do with spoilers, but we get Bucky Barnes and Natasha Romanova teaming up with Falcon and going after the Dark Avengers, trying to figure out how they can get Captain America back. But Norman Osborn also wants himself a Captain America. If he had a Captain America on his team, that would legitimize his team, and he could really do some evil shit. So we get the return of Red Skull, because Red Skull never dies. We get more Crossbones and Sin. Doctor Doom shows up. This is just a who's who of the Marvel Universe, and as it should be, right? If Captain America's about to return. So, not to give away too much, but it is called Captain America Lives. So we'll find out how Captain America comes back to the land of the living. Just a lot of cool stories in this book. A lot of great action. A lot of classic villains. Just an absolute fun read. And Ed Brubaker does such a great job at telling stories. So I love this book. Can't wait to dig into the next one. But what did you think of Captain America Lives? So Captain America is alive. Spoiler alert. What did I think about this book? I love this run. If you've watched any of my videos, I'm a huge Ed Brubaker fan. I think this is the best Captain America we've ever gotten. My criticism is more editorial. When Captain America died following the events of Civil War, Ed Brubaker did a fantastic job of introducing Bucky as the successor to Steve Rogers. And some of the stories that he told in the Death of Omnibus and in the Captain America Lives Omnibus of Bucky as Cap were fantastic. And I just wish we had spent a little more time with Bucky kind of figuring out his place in the world and what does his version of Captain America look like. But I'm also a big Captain America fan. So it doesn't shock me that Marvel decided we can't really go on that much longer without having Steve Rogers alive. I thought the the Reborn arc was fantastic. One of my favorite things about this omnibus is how it tells the story of Norman Osborn as the leader of S.H.I.E.L.D. /Hammer after the events of Secret Invasion. I thought Brian Michael Bendis's Dark Avengers was really cool, but I thought some of the best machinations of the Dark Avengers and Norman Osborn's happened in other books, like his plans in this book, or what his failings in attacking the X-Men in Utopia, or his final failing in Siege. But I absolutely love this book. Leave a comment down here, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks.
If you're looking for great deals on collected edition comics or manga, we recommend shopping at panelboundcomics.com. They offer free shipping on orders over $30, plus bundle discounts to help you save even more. And if you're shopping from Europe or the UK, comicsbugle.com offers free EU shipping and a rewards program for regular buyers. Don't forget to use our discount codes at checkout.